Welcome to Relationship Mastery, a podcast for those who want to learn how to master the art of creating happy, healthy, and loving relationships. Please join me, Adey-Jones, and my co-host, Barry Selby, each Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific for a lively and informative conversation on everything to do with relationships. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again. Hi, Barry. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Ready for a little fun conversation about gratitude.
Yes. Well, if you were with us last week, you know that we were focusing a lot on how important community is and how, especially during times of stress and tragedy and loss, and which here in Los Angeles we've been going through the beginning part of certainly January in with the fires, wildfires, and everything like that. But I was also saying that beyond my um, gratitude for my community um, and friendships and the goodwill of people, which has been incredible, was staying in a state of gratitude. I mean, it's not. I shouldn't say staying in it, because you're going to go in and out, because obviously the loss is going to hit you. It's going to come in waves, and we're not talking about a spiritual bypass here, but to me, gratitude is like a safety net. It's
Yeah.
like, you're on the sort of the high beams, you're doing all these, things, and gratitude just catches me every time. As I start to fall or to go start, feeling sadness or loss or whatever it is, when I can, we're all aware that we live in the feeling of our thinking. Our thinking creates our feelings. It's not the other way around. People think that our feelings create our thinking. It's not. It's our thinking creates our feelings. And when we are aware of that, and it's not a spiritual bypass, this is not, I'm not recommending that at all. I think anybody that has suffered loss and is grieving needs to honor that process, needs to get those feelings up and out. But if you're finding yourself getting stuck there and getting angry and why me and the victimhood is really taking hold and you're having a hard time functioning life, for me, the second I place my attention on something that I'm grateful for, we may have lost a physical house, the material things. But if we have our life, there are people that lost their lives during these fires. If we're still alive, that is something to be grateful for. So I really wanted to talk about gratitude because it's been so prevalent in my mind. And I think it's beyond just, this tragedy we've all been going through here in the greater Los Angeles area. Um, Even in our relationships, a lot of us are stressed right now. I know people personally who are fighting with their partners. Their expectation of how their partner should have showed up is frustrating them, and they're getting angry and they want to end their relationship. And my advice has been, hold tight, be grateful for right now. Be grateful that you have somebody to go through this with. Maybe how you both handle stress is a little different right now, and maybe you're getting on each other's nerves because you're staying in a hotel room, with your pets and your children or whatever. But if we can just find something to be grateful for to carry us through this time, and I mean, I just think it's a massively important part of life anyway, but especially during this time when it feels like there's so much loss and so much grieving going on. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on gratitude, Barry?
Quite a lot, actually. I mean, to be honest, I've been thinking about gratitude a lot in the last couple of months just because of what's going on in my own life. But the thing that I'll speak to is, I said in last week's show about how I volunteer every Saturday doing the food distribution, which is something I love doing. But there's also a lot of gratitude that comes up, not necessarily just when people are thanking us for giving them the food and everything else. I feel gratitude because, one, I've got the energy and the ability to give. Two, and I hate to say it this way, but it's kind of like, there but by the grace of God go I sort of thing. When I see these people who basically are in such need, and I don't have that need at the moment, I'm okay. I can take care of myself. I can get my groceries. I have food. I can sustain myself. I'm okay. that's almost like automatic. Okay, I'm grateful for that because I compared myself with someone who's not in such a great situation. And even with the fires, as much as I am extremely um, saddened, but also compassionate for those who've lost massive things like their homes or their businesses or other things as well in the fires. I'm grateful also that where I live is safe. I'm grateful for the small mercy, so to speak, even though it could, I would love to live in the hills, the mountains, everything else. I'm also realizing being in the middle of the city isn't a bad thing necessarily. So I'm grateful for that as well. And so for me, gratitude is something I've got some teachings I do with gratitude in my work. But I want to just say that gratitude is one of those things we overlook. Just being thankful, not necessarily to go and thank other people. Oftentimes, just be thankful to ourselves because we took care of ourselves. We got out of a bad situation, bad relationship. We said no to something that didn't line up for us. Being grateful for the simple things in life, not necessarily the big, massive, like, okay, the fire is at home, which is definitely something to be grateful for, but be grateful that, you caught the bus when you wanted to, or that I don't know, you didn't burn the toast this morning. It makes so simplistic. You can make gratitude so simple because the thing about gratitude is this. Want to make sure the point's clear. Gratitude, frankly, each thing you're grateful for has impact. The scale is irrelevant so much. So having gratitude in your life as a daily practice is much recommended.
Yeah. Yeah. It, like I said, it's the balm for me, balm as in BALM for people.
Yes. Right.
Balmy weather? No, the balm that soothes my soul. I
Hmm.
mean, I've actually just inherently, I've never been somebody that's ever gone, "Why me?" Because I just I don't I've always thought, "Well, why not me?" It's like
Yeah, indeed.
we don't get to do that "why me" thing, but it just, the tiniest thing, like you said, I love that, even not burning the toast. "Oh, I saved a piece of bread. I didn't have to put it in the bin." Um, Something as simple as that, but there is always, always something to be grateful for. And, we quote the sort of, I quote Michael Singer a lot in that, everything is for us, not against us. And even in really tough times, there is, a silver lining. There is a gift to be gained from it. We might not see it immediately. We don't see it immediately, but there's that saying, the barn burnt down, but now I get to see the moon rise. And that is it. We don't know what is behind something until we experience it. And sometimes the moon rise is not evident the day after the barn is burnt down, but just to know that there is something, that there's something coming, that, I mean, that's life. We have no control over it. We certainly don't have control over the weather, and it's 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 just what happens. And our firefighters this time, said it's like, even though people can start pointing fingers at politicians and things like this, that was it was nothing could have stopped that fire. 100-mile-an-hour winds, embers flying, 3 miles, a fire moving 40 miles an hour.
Yep.
That's, that is humanly impossible. I mean, hopefully, with technology, we can keep up with climate change and make things safer. But that was just unprecedented. We'd never experienced anything like that before. And unfortunately, there are some people that are severely ill, mentally ill, that they get a kick out of lighting fires. So we're always going to be dealing with the Santa Anas and these extreme weather conditions. And there are people that are going to, not saying that the two big fires were started by arson, but there were certainly many smaller ones that the arsonists were setting. And thankfully, the firefighters were able to mostly get a handle on them very fast. But
Yeah.
um, but again, back to our gratitude again, as I was saying last week, gratitude for the global um, commitment and coming together, that the humanity is at its base. It's such a, I mean, I think the good outweighs the bad. And when we get to see people that care from different countries, I mean, the messages I've had from all around the world of people that I know who reached out and asked if we're doing okay, and what they can do. And I was saying, as far as efforts from, Mexico and Canada and Israel and the Ukraine, and probably many other countries we don't even know about, that that have set aside any differences and just come together to help each other out. I mean, who can't be incredibly grateful for that? So it just, um, I was saying to Barry that when I got a little less busy was when I started to feel the feelings of sadness and grief arising more so than when I was busy. I didn't have to consciously be aware of being in gratitude. It was just a natural state of
Mm.
being. But
Yeah.
as I was aware, as I saw my mood plummet, it was like I was watching it. I could see the second that I put my focus on what was good in the situation, or like I said, watching humanity come together, I could just feel my whole energy just lifting and lifting and lifting. Just the
Mhm.
sort of the just the lightness came back into me. So it's something that, I mean, I know gratitude journals were a massive thing in the God, how many years ago. Oprah made them very, very popular. But there's a reason for that. For me, gratitude is one of the most incredible resources we have as human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking on gratitude, something I started doing a few years ago, which I took a year off, but I've been doing again, is because the gratitude journal was definitely the de facto standards like that we use. Your gratitude journal where you write down things you're grateful for every day, continuously as a practice. I like something a bit more playful, so I basically got a one of these big like sweet candy jars, like the big glass jars with a screw-on lid,
Mhm,
and I decided to make that a gratitude jar. So what I would do, and I got a notepad that was like a 3-inch square color paper, not sticky, but just plain paper. And I
mhm,
would just notepads, and I would just write down things I was grateful for. So each piece of paper had a gratitude statement on it, what I was going through, and I set my own rule of like I'm going to do 3 every day, just as something to keep me easy to do, but also a stretch I can do that. And so I end up at the end of the year with a jar stuffed to the gills with lots of colored paper. And to take it out at the end, just take it out and start exploring them, not to read every single one, but just seeing the abundance of things I'm grateful for at the end of the year was such a gift to myself and a recognition that even though the year didn't necessarily go the way it wanted to in terms of the hiccups and bumps along the way, I had resonant points along the way where I was grateful for things no matter what was going on externally.
mhm.
I was grateful internally, and that was a great gift to myself. So if you haven't done that yourself, having a jar or some container that you put gratitude into, not only is it symbolic, but also it's physical. You can really fill up that place and really feel like you've got gratitude for yourself.
I love that idea. I'm gonna do that one, Barry.
Please.
Because it's just the beginning of 2025, and as we said, we're but a lot of people are already saying, oh my god, I mean, depending on where you politically as well, it's been a tough January for quite a few people. So yes, I think that is a beautiful idea, and I think that I could definitely benefit from that. And who doesn't love a lovely sweet jar full of lovely colored papers? So
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing to do. But yeah, just as I said, also when in our relationships, um, it can be so easy to have a negative thought about our partner, and then it spirals, and then we're just tacking on more and tacking. And when we are looking through that lens of negativity, we're going to find a lot. If you really want to look for it, you're going to find a lot of things to be picky about, or dissatisfied about, or upset about, or angry about. And with that lens of gratitude, as soon as you go, okay, these things, and I'm not talking about major things. I can't having to preface this. We're not talking about being in a relationship with somebody that's abusive or lying, cheating, all of those things. Well, the ongoing addictions. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the niggly things that we can get picky about in our relationships, not just with our partner, but with our children, with our family. We can, oh, so and so's doing this again, and it drives me mad when they do this, or whatever, whatever, whatever. But
Right.
if we find ourselves going down that negative spiral of noticing everything that's wrong, everything that they do that annoys us, or all of those things, it, it's like gratitude just puts the brakes on. It just switches immediately. Find one thing you're grateful about that person brings into your life. Well, as I said, it could be a partner, it could be your children, your family, your mother, your parents, your people you work with, people in the community. Just find one thing, and everybody can find one thing positive in another human being. And then it's almost like you've just switched lenses or switched glasses. And you can then start. I mean, sometimes the first day it might be, well, this is the only thing I can really think that's really, I'm grateful about them. But as you keep looking in that direction, you'd be amazed at how many more things will just pop up and pop up. And as they pop up, you can just feel your whole energy shifting into that space of love and gratitude, less critical, less nitpicky, less irritable.
Hmm.
So you're doing it not, well, it obviously benefits our relationships, but it also it promotes, you know, good health within you. You feel better. You feel physically better. You feel mentally stronger. You
Yeah.
feel more resilient. You feel more, um, that bounce back. And it's not to deny that these feelings of grief, loss, upset, whatever, are going to flow through you, but they're not going to own you. They are literally going to flow through you and
Yeah.
out again. And that's what we're trying to do here is it's not judging negative feelings, it's just not letting them overtake you to the point where you're not functioning at your best and your relationship isn't functioning at its best.
Right. The thing about gratitude is, and as I said in my example, the scale of gratitude doesn't require any mass. It's like it could be anything. And I've recommended when I work with clients in this about, just even if you get up out of bed on time, frankly, even if you get out of bed, regardless of time, that can be a thing you're grateful for, because it doesn't require like, oh, I won the lottery today, or I had this, you got a promotion. Those are great too. But the thing with gratitude, again, it doesn't matter on the scale. And the thing with gratitude is, when you start being grateful and you look for things to be grateful for, you start noticing things to be grateful for. One of the
Yes.
benefits of looking, is that when you look for something, it shows up. So if you're looking for things to be grateful for, you'll discover 4, 5, 6, 7 things you're grateful for without thinking about it too much. So gratitude is one of those self-serving practices that are really helpful because it gives you a chance to reset, and a lot of times gives you a much more positive outlook on the world because you're noticing, oh, I'm grateful for that, grateful for this, grateful for this. And it becomes almost a game you get to play, and it lightens your energy and does lift you up. So for me, gratitude is a great tool to use for that. It's something you can do. It doesn't require anybody else
Mhm.
and doesn't require anything else. It's just a matter of you just get to notice the world and be observant,
Yeah.
and it changes your energy, change your attitude. It's a great way to play in life, frankly.
No, absolutely. And I love, and you're right. And it's something that you can play with your own relationship with yourself, gratitude for how you've shown up, how you've done this, it doesn't require another person. But just going back to relationships with other people for a moment, I noticed that the more that we comment, and again, I mean, even my son the other, I was so exhausted. I've been working this thing from like 7:30 in the morning till like one day of 6 at night. And I literally, I mean, my steps, because you don't sit down for 1 second. So I was at like 18,000 steps. I was like, what? It's like
It's a busy
1,800.
day. Yeah.
But it was so many, but I was so exhausted. But the next day, I overslept. I've never overslept an alarm in my life. And my son was like, Mom, didn't you say you were starting at, it's like sort of, it was like 6:30 in the morning. Didn't you say you were starting at 7 this morning? And I was like, and I was just so grateful that he was paying attention and
Hmm.
that he helped me not oversleep. And it's such a tiny thing, but to thank another person for those things, or, again, it's like clearing the dishes off the table. Thank you. Thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for whatever. Just always being in a state of, again, as I say, it's the lens we're looking through, the lens of is the glass half full or half empty? I mean, it really boils down to that again in the end. And what you, I don't think, I think many of us don't realize how much control we do have over our well-being.
Yeah.
We think we're just victims of our circumstances, and as I said, we many of us think that our feelings dictate the way we think about the world. And if we only knew, no, it's the other way around. How we think creates how we feel. That power is incredible. When we get that we have that power, that no matter what somebody says to us or what is happening around us, we ultimately have the power with how we interpret it and how we want to experience it.
Yeah.
And it's not a spiritual bypass. I'm very, very aware that this is not about, Pollyanna, like shove everything down and don't feel it. I had a young woman come in last week, and she just said, "I'm so tired of crying. I'm so tired of crying." And I was like, well, it's such an important part of the process, but also being aware that you're tired of it is really important too. That, but grieving is important. Tears are important. Um, as we know, there's a difficult chemical, the tears we cry, whether they're tears of joy or tears of sadness. I mean, there's a different chemical component in that, in where those tears come from. And if they are about grief and loss, get it out
Mhm.
more. Let those tears flow. And you'll be surprised how tears of gratitude will come in. I mean, again, this last few weeks here in Malibu have been so much tears of joy as well. Just witnessing um, people that feel so touched by the generosity of strangers, the kindness of strangers.
Yeah.
So,
The thing with gratitude as well is that it's it it basically shifts you into a place of receptivity. Because the other part is when we go through challenges, upsets, discords, calamities, whatever that is, oftentimes we get to a place where we become so resistant to the outside world because we want to sort of stay safe in our mind. Think we can containing our upset and not getting emotional. What gratitude does, it does tend to open us up because we start to notice what's around us and we start to become more receptive. And there's a healing that happens that way. Because the challenge also when we go through traumas and other things that shut us down, when we get closed off to the outside and we become less available, it starts to get toxic inside. Basically, we don't have room to heal or thrive. Even like you're saying, that woman who said, she was crying, she was tired of crying. That crying was coming out. At least she was actually not bottling it up. She was able to free it up. And gratitude is one of those things that I think is one of the secret weapons, so to speak, of opening up to be available, to let energy move in and out. Because being grateful, the only way you can be grateful is to notice what's happening. And by noticing what's happening, you open up to what's around you. And then by noticing what's around you, you start to interact more with what's there. So you can let what's inside come out more easily. And if you need to vent or get upset, it's easier to let it flow rather than getting trapped inside. Because frankly, and so on the topic, if you don't let the upset come out, it gets toxic inside. So this is part of the practice of getting yourself to move and be interactive in the world and ultimately freeing you up as well.
mhm. Yeah, it's true, and it is an important thing. There's nobody's, spiritual bypasses are, they're temporary fixes. There is a band-aid on top of a festering wound. I mean, that wound needs to be cleaned out. You need to, you know, rid yourself of any of that sort of, and it's waves. It's not linear. It's not like, you'll go through this, the 7 stages of grief or anything like that. It's definitely not, step by step. You'll go forward 2 steps, back a step. But it's when you are feeling absolutely immobilized and down to the point where you just cannot begin to sort of think how you're ever going to break that cycle of whatever depths of depression you're in. Um,
Hmm.
Again, it's just one of those little things that just, if in that moment, just try and think of at least one thing you're grateful for, one thing that can help you just relieve that. Because I mean, even things like denial often gets a gets a bad rap, but
Right.
denial it's a psychological mechanism that was is built into us for a reason.
Hmm.
It's because sometimes taking on the full impact of a devastating event or catastrophe in your life can just be overwhelming. So we do tend to have this innate ability to shut down and only allow certain amounts to come in. But as those certain amounts come in, we need to process it, need to release it, cry it out, whatever, and then have a tool like gratitude to help us find the light again. And then, as we said before, it's self-perpetuating. We find one thing to be grateful for, our mood lifts a little bit, and then all of a sudden something else will pop in and something else will pop in. So it's one of those things that, as I said, it's for me, it's
Yeah.
what the most important, because I know we always say sort of love and joy, but sometimes those emotions when we're really, really down are hard to find. But
Mhm.
gratitude is the doorway to finding love, to finding joy, to finding whatever it is. Um, in that direction.
And the thing about gratitude, I'll say it once again, is you start where you are. Gratitude is something you can do right this moment to find something you're grateful for. If you're watching our video or listening to us on podcast, you can be grateful you can hear us or see us. I mean, it doesn't require, it's not, again, it's not like it has to be a massive thing that you're grateful for. It can be the most simplest thing of all. So this idea about gratitude is you can take it with you wherever you go. And it's something that we recommend highly you do take with you, because the impact in your life and ripple effects you have of having gratitude will change everything around you if you're willing to let it happen. So be grateful. It's worth it.
Yeah. And you know, when you were just saying that, what occurred to me is I can't tell you how many times sitting in that hotel room with my beautiful partner Hootie and my son that lives with me, Luca, and my two cats, Hugo and Luna, and my dog Lucian. And I just kept looking at them and going, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful
Yeah.
for the love of my pets. So
Yeah.
even if you feel isolated and alone in this world, as Barry said last week, you know, volunteer, go to the shelter, go, you know, because the first, I mean, especially well, cats as well. I'm a cat lover, but dogs are just so grateful for any attention. They just want attention and love. And when you give them that, you receive that right back. So that's a great one too, is to
Oh,
just you know, share that love. And if it's not with a special person in your life right now, you certainly have neighbors, you certainly have shelters full of
yeah.
animals again that have been displaced right now. I do want to make this very this is it's occurring to me right now. I need to, between volunteering at the other places, I do need to go to the shelter, except I'm terrified of coming back with more cats and dogs. But there are animals that can't be with their owners right now. The owners are in hotel rooms. It's not that I ended up in San Luis Obispo in the end for, you know, hotels that would take cats and dogs. They'll often take dogs, but not cats. So there are these animals right now that are separated from their owners, and
Yep.
they are missing their especially cats. They like their space. They don't like being moved around. They're very, very stressful for cats. Dogs, as long as they're with their owners, they can seem to handle it a bit better. But there are pets in shelters right now that are suffering. They don't have their loved ones, and you know they need you as much as you need them. So I would highly encourage anybody that's feeling alone and sad and depressed to just go and be of service to our fur babies, our fur family.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. I mean, it's heartrending watching, seeing pictures on social media or seeing video of news items of like seeing like dogs and animals that just basically got escaped the fire, thankfully, but weren't with their owners because the owners had to leave without them. It's sad. So if you can give back any way energetically, the gratitude, and it's funny because you said about, when you give love to a dog or to a pup that's in a shelter, it's like the thing about giving to a dog, you get way back more than you actually give. So it's kind of a selfish act to be loving to a dog, but it doesn't hurt the dog at all. So yeah, go do that. We can help.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and yeah, why I love that. I'm going to start I've got my bell jar here. I'm going to
Yeah,
start little bits of lovely coloured paper in there with little messages of what I'm grateful for, and start this new year off on that note, not on
yeah,
focusing on the negative, but certainly focusing
yeah.
on the positive and being grateful for what we do have in our lives.
Yeah, start your gratitude jar. You'll love it. It's something I've found very useful. It's time. I didn't do it last year, but I'm going to do it again this year for sure. And in those in the middle of the month, I can start right now.
Yes,
So
exactly. Starting today, this afternoon.
exactly.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us again, and we will see you all next week.
Take care. We'll see you soon.
Yes, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. We trust you enjoyed this episode and invite you to share this with your friends and loved ones. In fact, please subscribe to our Relationship Mastery podcast. That way you'll get each new episode fresh and shiny as soon as it is released. We'd love to hear from you as well. So go ahead and enter your questions and comments at relationshipmastery.show. Take good care. We will connect with you in our next episode of Relationship Mastery.